Morning, it's Vijay here. Today is Thursday, 27th February 2025. Welcome to yet another episode of Pre-Market Commentary. I hope all of you had a very good festival and Lord Shiva rides the bull. Whether Lord Shiva will let the bull loose on the markets today and from today onwards is a very important question, which no answers are forthcoming as of now. Now, a very interesting thing is happening over the last few days, which I'm noticing is the biggest of the bulls have started becoming cautious to bearish. If you really look at it, uh, now people say don't buy the dip yet because they say it's 5 minutes to 12. Only after 12 o'clock we should be buying the dip. Now, as I keep repeating here, there is no way one can find out exactly what the bottom, but one should buy into any stock. At least that is my philosophy. I'm not a SEBI listed advisor. That's my philosophy that you should buy when you think the price is good enough and when you have the money, of course. So one can never say when the liquidity will come into the system. So now the question we have to ask ourselves is who are these people who are now saying don't buy the dip yet? If you look at media, in October 24 they were saying buy the dip. November they said buy the dip. December buy the dip. January buy the dip. February they are saying please don't buy the dip. Now this is exactly one of the conditions for when markets or more than markets I would say stocks bottom out. I'm already seeing stocks in especially in the private banking sector having made a strong bottom because if you see even on Wednesday when the market fell, sorry on Tuesday when the market fell, even though Bank Nifty fell, it has not broken the January 27th low. I feel it will be very difficult for it to break the January 27th low simply because RBI is sitting and doing something which I will talk about it a little later. Next slide. So yesterday what happened? Dow was down by 188 points. S&P was flat. Nasdaq was up by 49 points. Everybody was looking at Nvidia's results. Nvidia posted an earnings beat, but you see the market would have already discounted it, so it is on the lower side. But one can never say because Nvidia went into the earnings till yesterday, it was on a downward trajectory. So yesterday alone, during the market time, the Nvidia went up. The results, of course, taking adjustment. I feel I will be surprised if Nvidia doesn't go up today. So Asian equities are in a tight range, so nothing much is happening. So now just let's look at something very important which has come about. Aditya Birla Group, the Ultratech, they first entered paints and Asian Paints, which had a monopoly and which had very high P ratios as a stock, started underperforming. And today nobody would like to touch Asian Paints fresh. The people are holding it, will continue to hold. The same thing will happen, in my opinion, in cables and wireless business. Now, when Ultratech entered the paints business, Asian Paints was a big brand. But if you look at cables and wireless, there is no really a big brand saying that, okay, I want to buy a particular brand of cable. So there are a lot of cable companies which will get into trouble, I feel, because Aditya Birla knows, the lay of the land, as we say. They would like to do it aggressively when they could dethrone Asian Paints in terms of perception. It's very easy for these people to dethrone cables and wireless like Finolex cables. Then many companies are there which really are not. Finolex has got its own problems. So they will not be able to withstand the power of money from Aditya Birla Group. Also, the quality will be uniformly good. So anyway, that is coming only next year. But still, fresh buying, I doubt, will come into cables and wireless business. And most of the companies are trading at 50p, 70p, somewhat similar to what paints were doing before Aditya Birla people came. Now, this is what I wanted to say. RBI very quietly, without quoting Gandhiji or anybody else, is going about dismantling the tight structure which the previous governor had pushed onto the system. One of them was about the risk weightage on MFIs and NBFCs. And so, NBFC suffered and MFI suffered. So it was like, when somebody is weak, you try to push restrictions on them. When somebody is weak, you try to give them confidence and try to give them support. That is what any good regulator should do. But they did exactly opposite. I have no love lost for the previous RBI governor. I think this current RBI governor is very, let's say, lackluster in terms of personality, but in terms of action, I think his actions today will lay the sound framework for a good rally in stocks in NBFCs, banks, MFIs. I think the worst is over for this sector. So this is giving me that confidence. As it is, I'm a big bull on Bank Nifty vis-a-vis Nifty because of the past history. Second is with RBI slowly and steadily dismantling those, restrictions. I think now these people will breathe a fresh air. Now we cannot end without talking about what Trump is doing. So he says, Trump says Mexico and Canada tariffs will go into effect on April 2nd and not early March, because he says we'll have a comprehensive tariff policy on April 2nd. So they can breathe a sigh of relief, but we'll have to see what will happen on April 2nd. Now he says on Europeans, we will put 25% on autos and other things. Tariff details will be coming soon. I suspect this will also come on April 2nd. I think there will be chaos if he goes around doing what he wants to do. But if everybody is going into chaos, then I think that will have been discounted well in advance. I think India will suffer the least, if at all. So I continue to be positive on the next 3 months, next 6 months, and further on. But right now, next 3 months, what could happen is that lots of doubts will be sown by the media, by the fin influencers, who will say. So one of the biggest fin influencers talked of going into FD for the next 2 to 3 years. Here we studied the markets day in and day out. It's very difficult to even think of 3 months, let alone 6 months. 6 months itself, a prediction for me is very difficult. And this guy is talking of 2 to 3 years. The same guys did this prediction in 2022 when the markets were down. They said next 2 to 3 years there will be nothing happening in India. But at that point of time, Nifty was 1500 and 15,200. It went up to 26,000. Many stocks went up 3 times, 5 times, 8 times. So when people like this talk, I listen, I read, and then I make my own decisions. For me, it's very clear that things are going to only get better. So Trump has confirmed Zelensky will come to the White House on Friday to sign the US-Ukraine mineral deal, which is the beginning of the dismantling of the war machine. And then, of course, he says China, US, Trump said that relationship is very good. Venezuela, he has now reversed the oil concession, so Venezuela will go for a toss. So in spite of all this, the gift Nifty is flat because there is no confidence. And today is the monthly settlement of Nifty. So people are expecting volatility. Volumes have dropped dramatically to about 73,000, 74,000 crores on the NSE cash market. Typical volumes were about 1 lakh crores. So people have lost interest in the market. That is another good sign if you are a long-term investor. So these are the signs I look at rather than just some prices, because the volumes are down. Media is downbeat. We are now looking at a fifth down month. In the last 30 years, we have not seen this kind of, we've seen it, I think, in 95, 96. So in the last 25 years, we have not seen this kind of a thing. So generally, there is a element of fear or hesitation. So all this will add up to, forming a base. Now, the question is, every day I'm being positive. People asking me, oh, you are being positive, you are being repetitive. But you see, it is like exercise. You have to constantly exercise day in and day out for you to get muscles. So you would have a positive attitude when you go to the gym. Similarly, when you go for running or doing any exercise, any activity for that matter. See, when you do an activity with whatever force you do on 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 1 week, it just doesn't, it just doesn't give fruits. So I have to, at the extent of repeating, that I continue to be positive, but I'll also give you reasons why I'm positive, maybe a new reason every day. So for me, today is a fin influencers case. I will do a detailed, podcast on the weekend. One of my followers said that I should show the good and the bad and what happened, what people felt, and what actually happened, what I felt, where I went wrong. So I'll try to do one such thing. This will be a series. It will not be just one, because I've done so many mistakes and I've observed so many mistakes that it can never be one. So I go as usual, positive in the market. We'll buy on declines. We did reasonably well on buying on declines. So whatever you do, I hope it is successful. And this is Vijay here signing off. Thank you for joining me.